How to never get angry or bothered by anyone. Have you ever found yourself in this situation? The highway is jammed early in the morning driving to work, and suddenly a car cuts right in front of you? Without even signaling, instantly, your heart races. Blood rushes to your face and one thought fills your head. Who does this lunatic think they are? You slam the horn, mutter curses under your breath, and your mind is locked on that moment for the rest of the ride. So when you reach the office, you're still frowning, unloading that frustration onto your coworkers, and your workday begins with a chain of bad energy, one small moment, yet enough to rob you of peace for the whole day. Or picture this, you send a message to a friend or your partner, but the entire day passes with no reply. In your head, endless scenarios start to form. Maybe they're mad at me. Maybe I don't matter to them anymore. Did I do something wrong? That unease swells into anger, then disappointment. In reality, maybe they were just busy, their phone battery died, or they forgot to respond. But in your mind, it has already turned into a full-blown tragedy. Moments like these repeat again and again in modern life. A careless remark from your boss, a negative comment on social media, an unfriendly glance at the supermarket. Each can become a spark that sets off your mind. And do you know the irony? It's not those people who are harming you. It's you who drag yourself into the storm of emotions. You get angry, irritated, and stressed. And who suffers all of it? Not them. You. I know this not from theory, but from lived experience. I used to be extremely hot-tempered. If anyone said something wrong, I reacted immediately. If someone disrespected me, I had to prove myself right. But then I realized that I lost inside my mind every time I won an argument. I was drained sleepless, and my inner peace slipped further away. The price of letting emotions take the wheel was far too high. And that's when I turned to Stoicism, the ancient philosophy Romans used to face war loss and injustice. There I discovered a profound lesson: no one can make you angry or miserable unless you allow them to. It sounds simple, but I realized it was a survival skill when I started practicing. Think about it. What if you could walk into each new day and no one could shake your state of mind? Your boss might explode, your partner might be irritable, and society might be in chaos, but you would remain calm. How much lighter would your life feel? How much more energy would you have to focus on what truly matters instead of wasting it on petty things? I'm not saying you should become some emotionless machine. No, Stoicism doesn't teach us to deny emotions. It teaches us to master our response. Because you cannot stop the first wave from hitting. Your heart still races when insulted, your blood still heats up when mistreated. But you can choose not to be swept away by it. You can learn to stand firm. And that is what sets you apart. In a world where everyone is easily provoked and people explode over the most minor things, the strongest is the one who can stay calm. That is real strength, not muscle, not shouting, but unshakable composure. We will walk this journey together. First, I want to show you why we are so easily triggered, because understanding the root is the first step to change. Then we'll look at the Stoic masters like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, and see how they trained their minds under circumstances far harsher than ours. Finally, I will share practical methods, from breathing to thinking to daily habits, that you can apply immediately, turning theory into real power. So if you're ready to stop handing over control of your emotions to others, if you're tired of letting a single word, a glance, or an unanswered text ruin your entire day, then walk with me. In the next part, we'll uncover the emotional trap, why we are so quick to get angry and easily disturbed. This is the starting point for reclaiming your inner freedom, the trap of emotions. Have you noticed this? We often get angry not because of something big, but because of the little things. A careless remark, a disapproving glance, a rude gesture. Yet those small things can ruin your day, even your entire week. Wait, because our brain is wired to overreact to anything that feels like a threat. Go back thousands of years when our ancestors lived in the wilderness. There was a strange sound in the bushes, and they were instantly tense hearts pounding, ready to fight or flee. That response kept them alive. But today, when a coworker frowns or a driver honks at us, our brain reacts like a predator hiding in the shadows. The result? Adrenaline floods the body muscles tighten, and we lose our composure. Here's the paradox: anger is nothing more than an outdated survival reflex. Your life is not in danger when someone makes a sarcastic comment, but the primitive brain doesn't know the difference. It blows everything out of proportion, making you feel like the whole world is against you. I remember sitting in a cafe once overhearing two young women talking. One said, "I texted him all day and he just left me on hold. I bet he's ignoring me on purpose." You see, just one unanswered message is enough to drive someone into anger, suspicion, and despair. Yet the truth could be as simple as his phone dying or being caught up in a meeting. We are the ones who write the script for the drama inside our heads. The Stoics saw this trap thousands of years ago. Epictetus once said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them." An insult has no power on its own. Only the thought, "He disrespected me," or "I'm not valued," ignites the fire. The problem is not out there. The problem is in how we interpret. And here's the frightening part: your brain strengthens that reaction whenever you get angry. It's like a path in the forest becoming deeper with every step. The first time you got mad at being interrupted, the next time just hit a hint of the same, and the anger erupts twice as fast. Slowly you train yourself into becoming a ticking time bomb. A study in America showed this: people who regularly fall into anger suffer not only mentally but physically. High blood pressure, insomnia, and an increased risk of heart attacks. Which means every time you let someone trigger you, you lose not only your peace of mind, but your body pays the price as well. Think back to the last time you lost your temper, yelling at someone or sulking for hours. What did you gain from that anger? Did the other person change? Did the situation improve? Usually not. You only walked away with exhaustion, regret, and sometimes cracks in the relationship. So why do we keep falling into this trap again and again? We believe anger protects us and is a tool to prove ourselves. But the truth, as Seneca said, is this: anger always outlasts the harm it causes. It never serves us. It only enslaves us. Think about it: when you lose your temper, what do you hand over to others? Control. You give them a button they can press to manipulate your emotions anytime. If one word or one action from someone else is enough to make you explode, then where is your freedom? You have become their puppet. But here's the good news: this trap can be escaped. When you realize anger is not natural but a habit, you already hold the key. Habits can be changed. The pathways in your brain can be rewritten. And Stoicism is the map that shows us how. Picture your day: you go to work and deal with an annoying coworker, a rude customer, and then get stuck in traffic on your way home. Each one of these could be a trap waiting to catch you. But if you've trained yourself to see differently, to recognize this is their action, it does not define me, then those traps turn into harmless noise. You're no longer pulled into the storm. You stand apart, you observe, and you choose peace for yourself. And that is the turning point. Once you understand the mechanism, you are no longer a victim of anger. You create distance between the stimulus and your response. That space is where you reclaim mastery. In the next part, I will show you the ways the Stoics held on to that space, from reframing insult to the art of accepting what cannot be controlled. This is not abstract theory, but practical tools you can apply immediately. The power of Stoic perception. Once you understand how the trap of emotions works, the next big question is, how do you escape it? This is where Stoic philosophy becomes the sharpest weapon. The Romans and the Greeks weren't sitting in libraries discussing abstract theories. They faced wars, betrayals, and losses far harsher than anything we experience today. And yet, they found peace. The secret lay in one word: perception. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "If you are distressed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment about it." In other words, the problem isn't the insult, it isn't the contemptuous look, it's the story you tell yourself about it. And trust me, we are terrible storytellers when emotions hold the pen. For example, you're at work and your boss criticizes you bluntly in front of everyone. The first interpretation might be, he hates me, he wants to humiliate me, I'm worthless. If you believe that story, you'll feel angry, lose sleep, maybe even resent your job. But you can choose a different script. This is a chance to see my weakness and improve. Reacting with anger will only weaken me. Same event, two perceptions. Completely different outcomes. The Stoics taught that true freedom is not doing whatever you want, but freedom in how you see. When you master your perception, no one can control you anymore. A stranger might call you useless, but you know it's nothing more than an echo of their insecurity. You don't have to carry it. Seneca gave a perfect image. A dog's barking does not harm the moon. Think about it. The moon still shines and glows despite thousands of barks below. The wise are the same. They keep their stillness no matter the noise. So how do we apply this in the stressful world of modern America? Here are 3 principles of perception the Stoics left us. First, reframe the insult. When someone says something harsh, instead of thinking they attacked me, think this is just an echo of their insecurity. A happy person rarely spreads harm. If they spit bitterness, it's proof they're carrying a heavy burden. Seen this way, you feel lighter, maybe even compassion for them afar. Second, separate what's in your control. Epictetus said, some things are up to us, some are not. Others' words, others' actions, completely out of reach, but your response, entirely yours. Why invest energy in what you cannot change? You can't stop people from thinking poorly, but you can refuse to join their game. Third, prepare your mind beforehand. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning, today I will meet rude, ungrateful, selfish people, but they act this way because they do not know what is good. He never expected a perfect world. So when trouble came, he wasn't surprised. He wasn't outraged. He saw it as usual. Imagine walking into your office telling yourself, surely there will be drama today, but I'm ready to stay calm. Instantly, the weight of situations feels lighter. I remember once standing in line at JFK Airport, there was a man behind me complaining nonstop. He blamed the airline, the passengers, and the whole world. At first, I felt irritated, ready to snap back. But then I paused and thought, this is a chance to practice Stoicism. His complaining does not define me. It only reflects his state of mind. So instead of anger, I put on my headphones, played music, and smiled while waiting. The result, I boarded the plane lighthearted while he kept raging alone. The miracle is this: the world stops being so threatening when you start seeing through a Stoic lens. You realize no one truly causes your feelings. You choose them. And when you understand the choice is yours, you feel freer than ever. A viewer once told me, I live in a family full of arguments. I always feel dragged into a never-ending battle. How can I stay peaceful in that environment? I replied, you can't change your family overnight, but you can change how you see. Each time they fight, take it as a chance to practice. Instead of reacting, observe, breathe. Stay still. At first it's hard, but slowly you build mental muscle. And one day you'll see your peace no longer depends on the shouting around you. The Stoics believed true strength wasn't in power, money, or status, but in the ability to remain calm while the world shakes. An angry man can silence a room with his shouting, but a quiet man can soothe a room with his presence. And who is truly stronger to make it more concrete? Think about firefighters in America. When a building is on fire, they don't panic or scream. They walk in with focus and composure. That is the Stoic spirit, clarity in chaos. You may not be fighting fires, but you face the flames of insult, stress, and disappointment daily. And your calmness is your shield. When you grasp the power of Stoic perception, you start playing a different game. No longer, how do I win this argument? but how do I keep my peace of mind? No longer how do I prove I'm right, but how do I avoid letting their foolishness control me? And believe me, once you choose that path, you'll find you are no longer so easily disturbed. And here's the best part: when you stay calm, others change. Drama cannot survive without an audience. Someone who starts a conflict needs a reaction to ignite it. But when you don't react, the fire dies. People may call you cold, distant, or hard to read, but you're holding a quiet power they don't have. In the next part, I will share concrete practices to build the habit of Stoic perception until it becomes instinct, because understanding alone is not enough. Like training in the gym, you need repetition every day for the mental muscles to grow strong. And when they do, no one, not the annoying coworker, aggressive driver, or even hot-tempered family member, will be able to take your peace away so easily again. Training to become unshakable. Understanding the theory is one thing, but turning it into a way of life is what truly matters. As I've shared, Stoicism is not a philosophy book to leave on a shelf and admire. It is a gym for the mind. You cannot just read a few quotes and expect that tomorrow you'll suddenly remain calm in the face of every insult. For example, you need repeated daily exercises to build mental strength when building muscle. And once that strength is forged, you'll find yourself truly unshakable. Picture a boxer. He doesn't just learn how to punch, but also how to block, how to dodge, and most importantly, how to stay calm when attacked. If he panics, the fight is over. But if he keeps breathing steadily and waiting patiently, eventually he finds his opening. Our lives were the same way. You can't avoid the punches others throw at you, but you can train yourself not to collapse. One of the core Stoic exercises is negative visualization, imagining the worst-case scenario. It doesn't sound very optimistic, but it's beneficial. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself every morning, "Today I will meet selfish, ungrateful, rude, and narrow-minded people." By preparing in advance, he wasn't shocked when it happened. You can do the same before heading to work. Think, "Today I might meet a difficult coworker, an irritable customer, or a reckless driver." When it happens, instead of anger, you smile. I knew this was coming. This is just my chance to practice calmness." The second exercise is journaling. This was a daily habit of Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus. You don't need flowery words, just a few lines each night. What frustrated me today? How did I react? Could I have done differently? It's like holding a mirror up to your mind. At first, seeing the flaws is uncomfortable, but you begin to adjust and improve over time. I practiced this as an office worker, often dragged into meaningless arguments. Each night, I wrote down the situation, read it back, and told myself, I wasted too much energy on something small. That's how the change began. The third exercise is meditation. In America, meditation might sound foreign or spiritual, but it's simply sitting still, breathing deeply, and observing your thoughts. The Stoics didn't call it meditation, but they practiced something similar. Pause, observe without judgment. When you spend 5 minutes a day sitting quietly, you're training your brain to realize, I can watch emotions without following them. That step is crucial to keeping calm in real life. Another exercise I love is physical discipline. Modern Americans often separate body and mind, but the Stoics believe the two are deeply connected. When you train your body, running, lifting weights, swimming, you also train your will. A body accustomed to hardship helps your mind endure insults. I once ran a marathon, and what made me strong wasn't just my legs, but the ability to survive when my mind screamed, quit. When you've run 10 more miles in silence, pushing through pain, a coworker's criticism at the office suddenly feels trivial. Most importantly, practice non-reaction, the art of not responding immediately. This is the jewel of Stoicism. Each time you're provoked, instead of firing back instantly, pause, count to 3, take a deep breath, and ask, will this reaction bring me peace? Most times the answer is no. I've seen this transform a friend's marriage. He used to argue with his wife about small things. After learning to pause, he started reacting less. Strangely, that simple change reduced tension and the relationship improved. Sometimes strength isn't in words spoken, but in deliberate silence. Remember, training to become unshakable is not a one-week project. It's a lifelong journey. But trust me, the small steps you take daily, they accumulate massive strength. One day when someone screams in your face, you'll realize you feel nothing. Not because you are numb, but because you've built an inner fortress too strong to be shaken. Looking back at my life from being quick-tempered and easily offended to becoming someone who can stay calm in most situations, I see there was no magic trick, only daily patience, visualization, writing, meditation, physical training, and pausing. Like drops of water wearing down stone, persistence leaves its mark. And once you reach that state, you discover a new kind of freedom. No person, word, or action can take your peace away. But there is one point I must stress. Don't wait for a crisis to start training. Just as firefighters don't wait for a burning building before learning to hold the hose, you must practice before the fire appears. Start today with the small things. When stuck in traffic, see it as practice for patience. When a server forgets your order, see it as practice for compassion. When family members complain, see it as practice for silence. These everyday moments are the free gym life provides. And the beauty is this, you won't just change yourself, you'll influence those around you. People will feel your calmness and their stress will lessen. Like a solid rock in the middle of a river, your presence also becomes an anchor for others. In the next part, we will go one step further, how to turn calmness into a way of life. Not just the absence of anger, but the discovery of deep joy in living harmoniously with yourself and others. Turning calmness into a meaningful life. In the previous part, I spoke about training to become unshakable. But Stoicism doesn't stop at staying calm in the face of insults or stress. That is only the first layer. The ultimate goal is not that you endure better, but that you live a significant life, where calmness becomes the foundation for loving, serving, and sincerely enjoying life. Think of the image of a parent. That alone is an achievement if they can remain calm when their child throws a tantrum. But if they can turn that calmness into a model, teaching their child how to deal with life, then that is real strength. Calmness is not for sitting still and avoiding the world. It is for standing firm in the storm and spreading light to others from that strength. The Stoics called this living according to nature. But don't think of nature only as trees and mountains. For them, nature meant living true to what it is to be human, rational, compassionate, and responsible for the community. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "What is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee." He wanted to remind us that a meaningful life is about protecting our peace and contributing to the whole. So how do we turn calmness into a meaningful life? Let me tell you a small story. An old friend of mine, David, was once a manager at a tech company in California. He used to be hot-tempered, often yelling at employees when mistakes were made. However, after discovering Stoicism, David began to change. He didn't just learn to stay calm in tense meetings. He turned calmness into his leadership style. Instead of scolding, he listened. Instead of reacting, he asked questions. The result? Not only did his team respect him more, but their performance also improved significantly. His calmness created a more humane workplace, and that is meaningful. In family life, I once saw a couple on the brink of divorce after years of constant fighting. After practicing Stoicism, the husband started journaling each night, reflecting on his emotions. Slowly, he learned the power of silence, of not turning every difference into war. And then something remarkable happened. His wife changed too. She no longer saw him as an enemy to defeat, but as a partner. They learned to use calmness to understand each other, and their marriage was saved. In this case, calmness didn't just bring peace to him, it restored a home. The key point is, this calmness is not passive. It is an active choice of the best response. A calm person is not weak, but strong enough not to be ruled by impulse. And when you deliberately choose calmness, you create the space to make wiser, kinder decisions. This is how calmness becomes meaningful. It helps you become the best version of yourself. Stoicism also emphasizes finding joy in giving and compassion. Seneca wrote, "No man is poor who can give." Think about it. When do you feel happiest? Is it when you win an argument or help a friend in need? Calmness opens the space for kindness. An angry person cannot think of helping anyone. But a calm person, no longer consumed by ego, naturally reaches out to others. You don't just preserve your peace in that moment, you create meaning. Modern psychology even proves this. Those who stay calm and resist negative emotions tend to have better health, lower risk of heart disease, and live longer. The Stoics knew this centuries ago, expressed in philosophy: to live according to nature is to live well. When you let go of anger, your body relaxes and you gain more energy to live a useful life. So how do you bring calmness into every part of life? A straightforward way is to create a morning reminder. Marcus Aurelius often said, "Today I will meet selfish, ungrateful, arrogant people, but I will not let them steal my peace." You can try this too. Each morning before leaving home, say to yourself, "Whatever happens today, I choose peace." Just one simple line, but it sets the tone for your day. Another way is to practice seeing things in a broader perspective. When someone insults you, ask, "Will this matter 5 years from now?" 90% of the time, the answer is no. Seeing the smallness of the problem makes it easier to let go. This is both Stoic and scientific, called perspective taking, placing things in a larger picture. Finally, to turn calmness into a meaningful life, you must tie it to a purpose greater than yourself. That is a personal benefit if you stay calm and feel less tired. But if you remain calm to be a better parent, a more reliable friend, a more responsible citizen, then calmness becomes sacred. It becomes a duty, a gift you bring to the world. This is why Stoicism has lasted 2,000 years, not to turn us into emotionless machines, but to help us live peaceful, loving, meaningful lives. Looking back, you'll see that you learn to observe your emotions from being easily provoked. From keeping calm in moments, you learn to make it a habit. And from a habit, you turn it into a way of life. A life where no one can take away your peace or your joy. And you know the best part, when you live this way, you become a living example for others. You don't need to preach or force. Your calmness spreads on its own. Others look at you and say, "I want that too." And that is the most significant meaning. You do not just free yourself from anger, you inspire others to find peace. And here we arrive at the deepest level. Calmness is no longer just a tool, it becomes your identity. It shows in the way you breathe, the way you see life, the way you walk through each day. From then on, you no longer move through life as someone struggling to control emotions, but as a mountain, steady, unshaken, standing tall against every storm. And to see clearly the journey we've walked together, let us look back. From the pain at the beginning, through the transformation guided by Stoic wisdom, to this point where you've come closer to the state of becoming unshakable. The journey to becoming unshakable. When we began this video, I asked you a straightforward question. Have you ever been driven crazy by just one careless word, one thoughtless action, and let it ruin your whole day? For most of us, the answer is yes, many times. The common pain many carry is letting others hold the strings to our emotions. Throughout this journey, you have seen one truth: anger does not come from other people, but from our response. Someone else may throw an insult, but you decide whether to hold on to it or let it fall to the ground. And to learn this skill, we've walked together step by step through the lessons of Stoic philosophy. Do you remember the very beginning? We started by looking directly at the roots of anger. It is not the enemy, but an outdated survival reflex from the ancient brain. Today, when someone cuts in line, an email goes unanswered, and a thank you is left unsaid, the brain reacts as if life itself were in danger. But we've learned to admit, I cannot stop the first reaction, but I can choose the next one. That is the beginning of inner strength. Then we turn to the perception of others. A crucial lesson: not everything is about you. The grumpy barista may have just received bad news. The cold coworker may be drowning in private pressure. 90% of the daily unpleasantness is the shadow of someone else's insecurity, not the truth about us. Seeing this, we can whisper, "This is not my energy. This is not my burden." And with that, we feel lighter. We then arrived at the idea of emotional minimalism. Instead of reacting to everything we choose carefully, not every sarcastic remark deserves an answer. Not every contemptuous look requires a defense. Each time that we stay calm, we send a message to the brain. This is not worth the price of my peace. Over time, calm becomes a default. After that, we explored the power of non-reaction. Drama seekers need an audience. When you don't give them one, their fire dies out. The stance of being cold without hatred, calm without arrogance, is the strongest shield. It keeps you from being pulled into someone else's game. Another key point is that true strength is not loud, but silent. You may have seen someone standing in chaos, calm and smiling. It's not because they feel nothing, but because they've trained themselves as inner warriors, knowing when to be silent, knowing when to let go. That is Stoic strength, the strength of self-mastery. And none of this is just theory. We looked at reality. Mental strength is a muscle. Like training in the gym, it requires resistance and repetition. Yielding the right of way without muttering, and sitting quietly when someone speaks rudely instead of snapping back. These small exercises repeated transform you. What once kept you awake at night becomes nothing more than passing wind. When we connect all of this, the journey is clear. From recognizing the nature of emotions, to understanding others are not enemies, to simplifying responses, to building walls of calm, and finally to turning calmness into a way of life. And the central point I want you to remember is this: no one truly makes you angry. You choose to be angry. And likewise, you can choose to be at peace. This is not just an ancient Roman philosophy, but a living art of survival for the 21st century. When work stress, social media, entangled relationships constantly test you, the ability to hold on to inner peace is the real superpower. Now in this final stage, let me lead you to the destination. The outro, practical lessons and concrete steps you can begin today, turning all theory into transformation. If you've walked with me this far, you already feel one truth: keeping inner peace is more important than winning arguments. We often think strength is to respond, to prove, to conquer. But true strength is standing before chaos and choosing not to be pulled in. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and you have the power to revoke this at any moment." That is true freedom, freedom from your own emotions. How do you bring this into practice right now in daily life? Here are a few small steps, simple but powerful enough to transform the way you respond to the world. 1. Practice the pause moment. Next time someone annoys you, take a deep breath and count to 3. In that short pause, you create a space of freedom, choosing your response instead of being dragged by instinct. 2. Keep an emotional journal. Write down one situation that upset you each night. Then add, how did I react? What could I have chosen instead? Within a week, you will notice the change. 3. Try a 7-day no quick reaction challenge. Commit to that for 1 week, and no careless word or action will make you explode instantly. If someone cuts you off, mocks, or judges you, smile or stay silent. You'll feel more mental freedom than you thought possible. 4. Shift perspective. When insulted, instead of asking, how dare they do this to me, ask, what does this say about them, not me? That one question removes the fuse from many explosions. 5. Cultivate gratitude and forgiveness. Not because others deserve it, but because you deserve freedom. Anger is like holding a burning coal to throw at someone else. You are the one burned first. When you apply these small steps, you'll see something miraculous. The things that once kept you restless no longer move you. You don't become cold or emotionless. You become strong enough not to be ruled by others' chaos. Remember, this is not an overnight journey. It is training. Just as muscles only grow through exercise, inner peace must be practiced daily. Each day of patience adds another layer to your invisible armor, until nothing outside can pierce it. And so I ask you now, are you willing to begin this journey today? Not tomorrow, not when life gets easier, but right now. Because if you only listen and let it pass, this remains a theory. But if you try even one small action, change begins now. If this video has brought you value, I invite you to go further with us. Subscribe to the Sovereign Stoic channel, because each week we share more stories and Stoic lessons to help you build peace, discipline, and inner strength. Don't keep this only for yourself. Share it with a friend struggling with anger or stress, because they too may need this reminder. And finally, I invite you to try this. Leave a comment below about a recent situation where you almost lost control and what new response you will choose after today's lesson. Write it down, not just to remind yourself, but to inspire others watching alongside you. You see, we are all learning to grow stronger each day. And when you start mastering yourself, instead of trying to master others, you realize this is the most incredible freedom a human can ever attain.